final review recap of 2022. Do-do-do-do! Do-do-do-do-do! Hey guys, it's Amy here back again with another video. First off, an apology for missing out on last week's video. A lot of big things have happened and are still happening in my life. One of them included a sinus infection. I struggled to talk. I also just realized the last time I had like a break because of sickness was also right before a review recap video was required. Is this a sign I should stop? Nope, because another season has passed and because of that we must review some reviews. If you're new here, every quarter I do a little rapid review recap where we go over all the books that I read in a certain season and we rate them from best to worst. Also, it's not read, it's when I post these reviews over on my blog on amyrosenfeld.com. Link in the description as usual. The next one of these is going to be the first video of March next year. Granted, I don't get sick again. In the meantime, you can watch this one and then all the other ones that I have done in the past because I like doing these. I like reviewing now. This month we had the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. Not the worst book of 2022, but it came really close. This first review I got super furious about writing, so. Number 13 we have Renegades by Marissa Mayer. This was a hot mess. I haven't felt this angry about writing a book review and finishing a book probably since City of Bones last year. Not because of the whole You're My Sister ordeal. Renegades did not have You're My Sister. Unless it happens later in the series, in which, thank goodness, I dodged that bullet. And like City of Bones, the redeeming quality, and the only redeeming quality of Renegades, was its world building. A superhero utopia means a normie dystopia. But this book, it's gone! So many characters just following so many stereotypes that every single one of them felt like a Batman villain. And not even in an iconic way like the Joker, the Riddler, or Poison Ivy. I don't even think that much actually changed in the course of the beginning and the end, especially in the second half. It made the story feel pretty useless and felt like it was finishing in the wrong place. And Jesus, stop making the leads have chemistry. It is such bad chemistry. It feels so fucking forced. They both don't belong together, and they are both the dumbest people ever, considering that they are both lying to each other and they can't see through their shallow ass lies, even though they notice all the signs like an eye twitch, them folding their arms, them suddenly going quiet. Surely you notice something's up. At number 12, we have The Sound of Stars by Alicia Dow. Asexual rep. We gotta love rep with main characters on the asexual spectrum and a girl of color taking the lead. We love that. That being said, the representation was the best thing in this book for me. The world building was decent, but the plot was quite confusing and slow, especially when a total of 72 hours in canon was set aside to an ode to pop culture, or several odes to pop culture. That seemed to define a lot of characters' personalities, by the way, which is such a bad idea. It is bad personality writing and character creation when you define your character by their hobbies and things that they like, not their traits like their virtues, vices, and their motivations. Like literally, the main character was a bookworm, and then her love interest was an alien who liked Earth pop music. I literally cannot tell you anything else about their personalities. And again, with the romantic chemistry, why is it so difficult to write romantic chemistry in a sci-fi romance? No less. Romance is meant to be a key part of this novel, a very key part of The Sound of Stars, and it fell flat. What the hell? Number 11 is There by Tommy Orange. I'm one of those people where an ending can either make or break a book for me. It can make me fall in love with an otherwise average or bad book, or absolutely slander a book that was before good. This book's ending just confused me. It wasn't that I didn't know what was going on, it was very clear. It's just once it ended, I didn't know what the point of the story was. That was in spite of having so many well-developed characters that I really fell for. It was very insightful to see the urban Native American experience sort of in the same breath as in the Heights, just without the singing and a lot more depressing. So with how it ended, it felt kinda sour and like cutting off a piece of string. Also, the author didn't know if he wanted to stick with first, second, or third person throughout the entire novel, and I thought there was going to be some kind of significance to that. But even between characters and their perspectives between different chapters, it changed. Like, did the editors not even realize that or something? I genuinely don't know what the decision on that was. Number 10 is The Monster of Portland by Garth Nix and Sean Williams. It's reread time. I remember this book being the weakest in the Trouble Twister series when I first read it. And so far upon rereading the series, it still stands that way. While the content of the novel itself was good, it felt like filler. It more so built out the world and the magic systems in a pretty nice way, rather than contributing to a plot. But all things considered, character was the strong suit of this novel, especially when we see the characters of Jack and Jade sort of start to become their own selves and differentiate from each other more and more. It's because of them and probably nostalgia that I'm gonna stick around and read the rest of this series. Number 9 is Soul of a Rose by S.D. Houston. Look at those star ratings. This is a massive jump up from the previous book to this one. Just to show you how much I enjoyed the books in spring. Like, this is like a 4-star read, and it's only book number 9 on this list. There's a lot of good books this time, guys, but let's focus on Soul of a Rose right now. Started with the issue of an A story and a B story. The A story was way more compelling and interesting than the B story. The B story was like quite confusing for me. I didn't quite know what was going on or why a lot of it was being told. I didn't know how the B story connected to the A story or the overarching stuff going on within the trilogy, because this is the middle book in the Clash of Goddesses trilogy. Oh, but the A story was so good. I'm a huge sucker for the myth that this story was based upon, the myth of Orpheus and Eurydice. And it was done in such a unique way that you wouldn't be able to notice the comparisons. Pair that with a unique character arc and just how well Shannon writes these characters and you get Soul of a Rose. It's a good one, yeah. Number 8 is The Mime Order by Samantha Shannon. This was the book that made me realize how much I enjoy fantasy politics. I was already really in love with this world when I read book 1 in the Bone series, Mime Order being book number 2, but the way it was built up in this one, where the first book we were learning more about the magic system, and the second one we're learning about the underground clairvoyant crime network going on in the city of London, that was pretty cool. 1001 chef kisses, ghosts, and gritty adventures, what can I say? I also like the way that the romance was treated in this series. It felt quite healthy compared to others and quite believable. I really like how mature this romance was being taken compared to other ones where they just sort of kiss and dive right into it. This one was like a kiss that led on from the first book, and now they're like sort of thinking things and thinking next steps. I really like that. Oh, the characters were great there, especially Paige, Nick, and Jackson. They are all so good. So why wasn't this book 5 stars? Pacing. It was slow paced, coming up towards the climax. And I was just waiting and waiting for it to happen, and it took a while. It's all good if you like slower paced novels though. Number 7 is After the Crown by KB Wagers, the sequel to Behind the Throne, which was one of my favorite books that I read in the winter. Now, a lot of what I said about book 1 still stands coming into book 2. Politics, great characters, the culturally inspired worlds that we get to see throughout an entire galaxy now. But this book had a bunch of events that put you on the edge of your seat a lot more. The world building, especially the political side of things, while interesting, was starting to get confusing. Trying to work out who was on whose side, fitting names to faces and roles, that was starting to get a little bit tricky. That made things tricky, and it's still great, and yeah, I ended up finishing it super psyched to finish reading this trilogy. By the time I filmed this video, I have finished reading the trilogy, and you'll find out my thoughts on that, soon. Number 6 is The Reptile Room by Lemony Snicket. A lot of stuff that happened in this book was great, aside from one thing. The actual events of the Baudelaire children went through being, unfortunate, as the series says. I loved the narration and the tone and the whole story taking place within like 48 hours. That was so fun. I love books like that. I want to read and write more books where that kind of stuff happens, for sure. The such short time spans with a lot of detail and a lot of action, just one right after the other. So freaking good. So much of this was a step up from the first novel in a series of unfortunate events. Oh, bless. I felt like I was being talked down to less as well, as you kind of got that in the first book as an adult reading that, and they're like trying to educate you on everything. But this one, I felt like it happened a lot less, and that plot line was really, really solid, done really, really well. It was fantastic. And every kid, every Baudelaire child had a chance to shine in this novel. It was fantastic. Number 5 is Knife by R.J. Anderson. I read this in intermediate, and then I forgot most of it. So while it is a reread, I don't entirely count it as a reread. I say this because the only thing that I remembered in this novel was the romance. But there's so much bloody more that it's insane. There is literally something inside this book for every kind of fantasy lover. Except for smut. There is definitely no smut in this book. And if you're watching this expecting me to recommend a book with smut in it, then what kind of rock have you lived under? I've literally read 2 books that contain smut in them. Knife has got world building, politics, fae, action, romance. It's got everything. The whole flippin' shebang. This is genuinely going to be the book that I now recommend to anybody who wants to start reading fantasy for the first time. Because the only reason I can imagine them not liking it is that they think fairies are for children. And if you are one of those people, what kind of demon has possessed you? Number 4 is Slated by Terry Terry. Finally, guys, I've looked for this kind of book for over a year. A dystopia that doesn't make me want to rip my hair out. This is such a damn good story, you guys. The main character, Kyla, steals the show for this one, especially. For someone who has had her personality and memories basically wiped, she has so much depth, personality, and we really get to know what makes her tick. Arguably one of the most well-developed young adult main characters through a first-person perspective that I have read in years. I haven't read anybody as well-developed with a first-person perspective like that since Percy Jackson. And the second thing I gotta mention is the world building, because holy shit. It's the kind of world building that I genuinely expected our world to be like within 30 years time. It was so terrifying, so well thought out. Lots of yikes and yay. Number 3 is The Merciless Ones by Namina Forna. The long-awaited sequel to The Gilded Ones, and it is so freaking good! Great action, great character. Oh my gosh, the characters. I love every single one of them, and there's something really interesting about them. Most of them went through very similar experiences to each other, but the way that each of them had learned from them developed, personality-wise, and the different traumas each of them have is all so different. I really like seeing that sort of be fleshed out. It makes them all feel very, very real. And the world building, it was really good as well. The African-inspired stuff and the ties to feminism went really, really well. There was a lot to learn from the feminism and the world building, and it wasn't signposted. Thank God. I hate signposted fantasy feminism stuff. Oh, thank God. It was so good and so refreshing to see it like this. The best dark fantasy series ever, and book 3 isn't even out yet. Namina, when is it gonna be out? Number 2 is Bad Faith by John Hollins. The epic conclusion to the best high fantasy series in the world. I am genuinely furious that this series isn't even talked about more. Bad Faith had the same characters and quirkiness and the high stakes that the other ones had in the series, but it went so dark in this installment. I loved how dark it went. And how every single character was each struggling with different moral conundrums. That was really good to see everybody sort of on the same plane, but like tackling things in different ways. That was really, really great to see. Every single character shined amidst the absolute chaos. If you get any takeaway from this as a fantasy fan, this is the series that you need to read before you die. But if you're not a fantasy fan, or you need another book to add to your TBR, let me tell you about the book that is number 1. Number 1 is The Tenth Muse by Catherine Chung. Check this out. It's about math, but it's not. It's about feminism, but it's not. It's about being biracial in the 1950s, but it's not. It is so much more. Led by the lovely lead character of Kathy and the amazing narrative voice that she possesses. Honestly, like, some of the stuff that she spoke in this was so freaking poetic. It was incredible. And I love the perspective of feminism in this, which is about someone wanting to be good in their field and not being a female good in their field, just being so damn good in the field that they work at and the things that they love. And all the while discovering secrets about the past. It gets you so emotional and gives you so much insight. It's incredible. It is so readable and so damn good. And I'm thinking it might be my favorite book of the year. We shall see. I've still got a lot more books that I have to properly review, which will be revealed in March of 2023. That being said, I'm going to finally get on the YouTube Shorts game, and close to the start of next year, you're going to see my top 10 and my bottom 10 of books of 2022. Not including the DNFs because there's a few of them, and I don't really want to give a lot of stuff to the DNFs because of how bad they are and the reasons why I DNF'd them. But apart from that, thank you guys for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new around here. You can ring that bell to find out when I post more creative content. And if you're looking for one more book to add to your TBR, either to finish off your reading challenge for this year or to give as a Christmas gift, ASTER'S CODA Exposure is the way for you to go. A contemporary portal fantasy with some fantasy tech in there. It's got so much that you're going to love. Follow Abby Tacker as she dives into the 3 worlds and her place in it in the midst of an otherworldly blood feud. While you're down in the description buying my book, you can also check out my Instagram, my TikTok, and my website. Stay creative, everybody, and I'll be seeing you in the next video.